Alright, this is Lost Generation. Coming back with you. Brits. Hope you didn't feel left out. We're going to get to how you're being ripped off too. I tried to set this one up for better quality, and I am failing miserably. I have to have enough light to be able to see this stuff, but it reflects off of these coins, so it's really hard for me to get detail on all of them at the same time. This episode might be very confusing for Americans, but we're going to have to go over a brief history of the pound, which has been around for over 1,000 years, give or take. So originally, the penny was a silver coin, and it was minted in silver for a very, very long time. And there's so much that goes into it. It was roughly based on a standard of foreign coins, believe it or not, until it was standardized as the Tower Pound. The Tower Pound is equal to, I believe, 5,400 grains, which comes to around 11.25 ounces troy, which is what you would measure modern bullion silver in. Now, 11.25 ounces troy of silver is not an amount to be sneezed at. It's actually worth around $165. So the original pound had significant value. Even back in those old times, a pound was a pretty significant amount of money. Even today, it still holds a higher purchasing power than a lot of other currencies based on that old standard, that old value. So when we look at the Tower Pound was the actual weight of 240 silver pennies. And this is really confusing to a lot of people because there's also 240 pennyweights in a troy pound. So there's a lot of confusion, but the Tower Pound was the actual weight of 240 silver pennies. Pennies were originally in fine silver, and that would amount to the Tower Pound in weight. Eventually, the silver pennies were changed to 92.5% silver. 92.5% silver and 7.5% copper is an alloy that's become known as sterling silver. So once it was changed to sterling silver, the pound, the British pound, became known as pound sterling. So that is where the term pound sterling comes from. And eventually, I believe in the 1600s, it was changed to copper. I could be wrong on that. It was sometime in the 16 or 1700s it was changed from silver to copper, I believe. And if I'm wrong on that, please forgive me. It's pretty confusing. There's so many different versions over history. But nevertheless, it was eventually changed to copper. And the penny itself was minted in copper for quite some time. And actually it was changed to a bronze type alloy, which we'll get into in a second. But this is what you really need to know. This is the important part. Before they decimalized their currency, 1 pound was equal to 20 shillings, which was equal to 240 pence. What that means is there is 12 pennies in a shilling. And the plural form of pennies is called pence. So 12 pence per shilling, 20 shillings per pound equals 240 pence per pound. So that means there was actually, in a pound, 240 of these bad boys right here. Now, it seems a little crazy, but you have to remember the value of the pound when this was originally set up was pretty significant. I I mean, in modern dollars, you're talking a pound sterling in its silver weight would be worth over $160 US. So there was 240 of those large pennies, first in copper, then in bronze, much after the original silver pennies. And then I believe in the late 60s, they decimalized. So this isn't an apples to apples comparison here, but they screwed you on the decimalization too. Because when they decimalized, they made each pound worth 100 pence. They denominated a pound in 100 pence. Now, you have to consider this though. If you take that into account, that means one new penny is equal to 2.4 old pennies. So let's just take common sense here. Would you think this penny in bronze is worth 2.4 of these pennies in bronze? Makes absolutely no sense. That's because it's not done according to weight anymore. And if you've noticed, a lot of these videos I've been doing about how you get ripped off in the mid 60s to the early 70s is really when they got rid of real silver and real backing to the coins. With a modern pound, there's no way on earth they could have 240 of those or even 100 of those to the pound and not have the melt value of the copper in those coins be worth way more than the nominal value of the pound. So they've had to debase the coinage. First they did it during the decimalization. So you went from 240 of these to 100 of those. Let that sink in. And then, of course, just like every other modern currency, they've had to debase and debase and debase as the devaluation increases. So over here we have a modern British penny, and it's copper-plated steel. What a joke. Copper-plated steel. The melt value of that steel is worth next to nothing. So you went from 1/240th of 11.25 ounces troy silver to 100 copper-plated steel coins of a diminutive size. I don't have exact melt values for a lot of this stuff, so we're just going to have to use our reason with the size and alloys here. This is mainly copper, copper-plated steel. And I'll try to get you a better look at these coins. We'll see if we can get you some more definition on them. So let's look at the British pound. This is a 1 pound coin that we have up here. I know the light's reflecting off of it, so we can't see any detail. But remember, our 1 pound used to be a tower pound in silver. And that tower pound would have been 11.25 ounces troy, which would have been $165, give or take, in current melt value, which in current pounds would have been worth 131.34 British pounds sterling. So you can see that 1 pound, one former pound, would be worth 130 pounds today. This coin is supposed to represent 1 pound. And what is it made out of? 76% copper, 20% zinc, 4% nickel. That means the melt value of that bad boy is worth very, very little. Very little indeed. So you went from over 11 ounces of silver per pound to a copper and zinc coin not much bigger than a U.S. nickel. We're all being ripped off. This is egregious. Lost generation. Try to get you a better view of these coins. Let's see if we can get this going here. It may not be focusing very well. And yeah, my hands are dirty as usual, folks. But this is your freshly decimalized bronze penny here. And this is your copper-plated steel junk penny. Yeah, and they do this nice fractional design on the back, where if you put them all together, they make a shield, the coat of arms. So they got to put all sorts of gimmicks on the coins now, make you feel like you're not being ripped off. This is a £1 coin, 2014. There's the whole coat of arms of the United Kingdom right there. So anyways, lost generation. We're out. We'll catch you later.